On June 26th, the county administrator accepted the resignation of Alyssa Mackel, part-time general communications clerk, switchboard operator, to be effective June 17th. That was all there was.
Good morning. Okay, today's financials include, among other things, a cash transfer from the general fund to Court Technology for a portion of their 2024 funding, a formal contract from the commissioners to Cable Communications for the installation of CCTV cameras in the Geauga County office building, and a formal contract from Water Resources to Quasar Energy Group LLC for the disposal of sludge biosolids and filter bed sand. Among the vouchers are $539,787.32 from the Commissioner's Office to Infinity Construction Company for pay request number 9 of the courthouse expansion project, $418,290.94 from the Engineer's Office to Cole Burton Contractors LLC for the asphalt resurfacing of Fairmount Road sections F through G, and $156,480 from the Sheriff's Office to Ganley Chevrolet of Aurora LLC for 3 2024 Chevy Tahoe replacement patrol vehicles, and this brings the total for 2024 up to 7, and they're still looking for 1 more.
Okay.
That's it.
Very good. All right, I'll make a motion to approve financials.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm requesting the President of the Board to approve and authorize the Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging at a request for proposal for Alzheimer's respite funding for 24 through 27 to help fund our adult daycare service. This is state funding. We typically apply for funding both through state and through Older Americans Act funding, so this is the state portion of the funding.
Okay, very good. So moved.
Second motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Morning. Morning.
Fine.
Morning, how are you all today?
Good.
Good. Nice weather.
Beautiful.
On number 4 is going out for advertisement for statement of interest and qualification for professional designs for the barn roof. This is where the barn roof, we also took that windstorm on it.
Yeah.
So this is for that.
And this was an insurance settlement as well, I
Yeah,
believe?
part of it, yes.
Okay, part of it. Very good. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
And then is this project to be for the whole road?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. This is going to be just to go out to get the engineer. So the next one is the same thing, go out for advertisement for statements of interest and qualifications for professional designs. This is for the safety center parking lot. We're doing that because of the one area. We want to make sure that it's done correctly.
Yep. That's it. Okay, very good. Make a motion.
Second?
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
The next one's permission to advertise for bids for Geauga County parking lot repairs. This is one where we got that one bid, but we threw it out. So we redid that, and we're going to go back out for that. This is for the seal coating, line striping, and some patchwork.
Okay, so moved.
Second?
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
The next one's for the Ohio CAT. This is our maintenance on our safety center generator. This maintenance is very, very important, as this is a 24-hour area. So this is just for the maintenance for the 2 years.
Okay, through 26.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so moved.
Second?
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
The next one's for masonry restoration. This is for getting some tuck pointing done up at the annex and at other county buildings also.
Great. Okay, so moved.
Second?
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
The next one is to go out to get professional designs this is for the generators at DES. We have two, one for the building and one for the tower site. So we're trying to look at a couple different approaches on this, see if we can tie them together. So if one goes down, we have a backup, because this is when all hits the fan around here, this is where everybody's going to be going, is at the DES building.
Okay. So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
And then not on the agenda, we're requesting or authorize the president or vice president to execute a service contract with ground penetrating radar systems. We're helping the engineer's office locate some private utility lines here on Ravenwood and Merritt. It's kind of taken up a sense of urgency, and we can't really wait until next week once I have the contract ready to go. So Linda and Christy are helping me kind of push this through pretty quickly.
Great.
So, I just need for clarification, which one of you would be available tomorrow morning to send the contract ready?
Me.
Jim? So it'll be vice president, and we will do it on July 3rd.
For location of the fiber optic wire.
Correct.
This is for the county fiber lines.
Okay.
So they're redoing Merritt and Ravenwood, so we'll try to get this pushed through.
So do we need a motion for that?
So I have the maintenance department is requesting the board approve and authorize the vice president of the board to execute the service contract agreement with Brown Penetrating Radar Systems LLC to perform private utility location at various county properties for a 2-year period effective July 3rd, 2024, an amount not to exceed $20,000 pending prosecutor approval and certification.
Okay, so moved.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Y'all have a good day.
Good morning.
Morning.
Item 10 on the agenda is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract with Harper Well and Pump, perform well and pump services as needed to our various 5 pump stations that we have within the county for $10,000 effective July 2nd. This is our second, so we have 2 companies that we do this with. If we can't get one, we get the other one.
Sometimes you need them real fast.
Sometimes somebody's busy, so.
Yeah.
Great. So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Thank you.
Put an arrow.
Typically, liquor licenses, as we know, are usually done by the county administrator, since he's not here. This is requesting the board to concur with the Bainbridge Township trustees and not requesting a hearing on Super Rich LLC. It is a Trex. Basically, what it means is that there's a new store in Bainbridge that's going in, and they are transferring a liquor license from another agency to them in order to fulfill that requirement. So I'm just asking you to concur with Bainbridge Township and not requesting a hearing.
Okay. Need a motion?
I do.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Okay. But we
It's
have-
not 10 o'clock yet,
we
does
have
that
14
matter?
minutes. We have 14 minutes before we have to do that.
Do you guys want to talk about the issue of rent for the health department while we're waiting? I have some information relating to that.
You went to one of their meetings?
I did. I went to their last meeting. We had a good discussion. Have had a little bit of follow-up with Ms. Brakey, and have provided her with some information that she requested, and she came back with concerns that she would like to see addressed in such a contract. The main question is, do you want to charge rent, and if so, how much? So this is informational for you. I did also send this to you in an email. Somebody that only check marks on it. Okay. Basically, we had discussed if you want to charge rent or not. You certainly are, under the law, allowed to do that because they are a combined general health district. We talked about what it would cost to make the county whole for what it costs for us for them to be in the building. The chart that I provided to you lists 1 year worth of expenses that we got from the maintenance department at about this time last year. Divided over the 110 square feet in the building, it costs pretty close to $3 a square foot to pay the utilities and provide the maintenance and a lot of the minutia that is listed on this chart for them to be here, services and things that are provided in this building that they benefit from. This does not include anything if you wanted to talk about capitalization of the construction of this building, as we do with our cost allocation people. That is not included in here. If the space that we want to dedicate to ADP is in fact dedicated to ADP, this will comprise 5,609 square feet that would be left to them. So if you were charging them $4 a square foot, it would be $22,000, $3 a square foot, $18,000 for the year. So those are some options you can consider. Obviously, we have other people in the building that are paying more than that. The BMV pays you $16 a square foot for their space. We get 13 and change when soil and water, but the reason that amount was set was because that's what the state would reimburse for. So people that are paying cost allocation are paying considerably more. That would be JFS, aging, water resources. So those are some things for you to consider.
So do they receive any income from the city of Chardon? Because obviously the city of Chardon was kind of the deal on this as far as making it a combined or not. And do they receive any dollars from Chardon?
I'm assuming Linda looked this way, she wanted me to say something. We do not get money from City of Chardon besides the levy. That was the deal from our understanding back when that house was formed, was to save money for the taxpayers in the county. The levy would be the only income source, and that Chardon was not paying additional dollars.
But that's the same for every township, every village, everybody, that lives in the county, part of their tax bill goes to the health. So it's universal for every taxpayer.
And I think that's, I think the license bureau is obviously, that's run by a private individual or private company. I'm not sure who exactly has that, but that's obviously done for profit. So that's kind of a situation where we basically, gave them a space that I think is a lot better than what they had and more convenient for our residents to be able to do a one-stop shop, which was kind of the plan for that. With water resources, I understand that, taking advantage of some of the state available dollars. I think that at the end of the day, I don't think that it's a situation we need to burden a division to be able to exist, and it's nice to have everything under one roof, but obviously covering some of the costs would definitely be the goal, that would be, so. I guess in the conversation, so is that $4 a square foot, something that was reasonable on the, as far as the finances with the health board?
The board didn't get to discuss that. That night we had a larger meeting after our board meeting, but they'd asked Linda a couple questions and they wanted that back so they could have the conversation as to what that looks like for them.
Right. And obviously it's just like anything else, what costs, $1 today is going to cost you so much more, in 10 years from now, to just be able to revisit that, instead of just locking in something for the operational part of that it's, sliding scale.
We have a draft of a 3-year
Okay.
with a 1-year rollover. And we can obviously put language into it to revisit depending on where the economy goes. If
Yeah.
you want to see something like that, and obviously that would be a conversation with their board as well.
Ever since I became commissioner, I've been asking our administrator to see if the health board is supposed to pay rent or not. We finally found out a couple months ago. They're not used to paying rent. It's a service to all the residents in the county. I like having them up here. And it's just, because if they have to start charging the political subdivisions, which are 21, and if we go this, I'm just going to throw this out here. If we have a 5-year agreement with you, first year, $2 a square foot, second year, $3 a square foot, fourth, fifth, third, fourth, and fifth is $4 a square foot. That way you ease into making, a square footage payment, and it would help us out with the actual cost allocation. So, again, first year, $2 a square foot, second year, $3, 3, 4, and 5 is $4 a square foot, and then we'll talk after that.
Yeah, I mean, we can take that to the Board of Health. I think, because they'll have to look at a number of factors, including, as far as I know, we still have the lowest levy in the county, the smallest levy, and I think that would, it would impact on how we do that for the next rollout. So they'd have to look at that and figure out how they want to do that. I don't want to speak for all 5 of them. But we can take that to the board.
Yeah, does that make sense? Just give them-
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking
Get 'em in.
a ton of money. I mean, at 50, would you say 5,600 square feet? You'd be looking at, on a buck, it's $5,600, So, it's not a ton of money.
I mean, no matter,
Get them used to paying.
yeah. I mean, no matter where you're located, if you were in a separate building, separate from here, you'd be paying a heck of a lot more in rent. And, paying to snow plow, paying to cut the grass, paying to who knows what else. I mean, even if it's janitorial services and the health wants to go get their own janitor, that's fine too. But, knowing that you're gonna have to do it and pay it, so I mean, if you can find a better deal than $1 a square foot, that's great, but if not, we could offer it, there's gotta be, nothing's free, no matter where you're at, so. And just, Dave, I'm glad you're here today. I don't know if you remember, we had a meeting with the previous director when we were talking about considering building this building.
Yeah.
And their, interest at the time, the board and their director were, very interested and excited about moving and getting next to the hospital here. And at that time, we sat down with the prosecutor and yourself, and we're talking to, the clerk of courts and health, trying to find different avenues and resources, revenue to help offset the cost of this building. And one of the ideas was by the former director was that he believed at the time that they would have some type of ability to contribute towards, their footprint in this building. I don't know where that went when he left, but if that, or I'm sure there's been some turnover in the board since then too. So, but that was kind of the idea coming in. Like the clerk of courts had money that they put toward the building of this building too. So that's just kind of some of the history there as to why they're here. But I understand there's been discussions or there's been comments made of not necessarily wanting to be in this building. I don't know if that's true or not, or but I would just be mindful that you would definitely need to have to get a levy if you weren't in this building. You'd be paying a heck of a lot more.
And I think to your point, because the board has discussed, there is no expense. Like you said, nothing is free in this world. And I think it benefits the community, us being here. Because usually when you come to our department, you're going to soil and water, going to the water department.
That's the whole purpose we did it.
It would be a pain if you were an average taxpayer, if you had to drive to 470-ish area to drive back to here, possibly back to 470, back to here. Contractors would be back and forth. It would increase the cost of everyone's day-to-day operation.
You can see where we were going.
Yeah. So it 100% makes sense to have us next to, especially Nick and his team and building. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I sit on the NODCOG board, and we just went through a contract agreement with the Murray House up in Chardon, and they're charging $1.85 a square foot.
Okay.
Because it's something that helps a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's usually what we rely on is like for the WIC program in Geauga County, other counties. usually rely on churches and things like that. And it's usually, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of funding in public health.
You know,
That's what we have.
right. Just looking at some of the expenses in total of this building, you know, the big one is obviously the electric bill.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to talk about that because
Yeah,
that was something I flagged when I was going through the cost, because when you look at those two costs, the most, my understanding this was July 2023 through, or maybe, July 2023 to June, or no, 22 to 23. So you're seeing the majority of your costs are going to the illuminating company for that period of time versus your supplier. So I would expect those costs to almost be reversed. You should see 60% going to your supplier and 40% going to your utility. And the reason behind that is you guys were not contracting with a competitive supplier for that year until the very end of that term. So you were grossly paying for your electric costs last year.
But that has just changed.
Well,
And
so that's something to flag, because my understanding is right now you are not under contract right now.
I thought
And the
that was just
default rates,
approved, wasn't it, with CCAO?
my understanding is your agreement just expired, and so you need to get into a new contract now. And while that's happening, you're paying over 9 cents a kilowatt hour with CEI, which on the open market, you should be paying about 5 cents all in.
hasn't it always been through CCAO that the shared energy costs that all the counties participate in? You're saying that,
But you need to lock into a contract, and you're not into a contract right now, is my understanding.
we'll check on that.
That was the CCAO Service Corporation agreement that we were fighting about getting the language approved in the contract, and that finally got,
That was
just
with-
finally went through.
Was that with
But
the-
they still have to do the electric supplier contracts. So that's
CCAO does.
With, they have to go out for bid and that kind of stuff. So that is it's gas and electric that they were doing the amendments for.
So there's probably not much we can do until that gets done.
Yes, and I'm not
And
sure
that's
where
in-
Glenn is on those. So
Okay.
And that's in Columbus, they're still negotiating? Or
that, I don't know where Glenn is on that.
Yeah.
It's through CCAO Service Corporation.
Did you and Glenn talk about that?
Briefly, yes. I mean, that's how I figured out what was going on with those costs, because they weren't making sense to me why you would be paying so much more to CEI than you would be to Dynegy.
Okay.
And so
And did he say to you where we were on waiting for CCAO to negotiate
you
that?
need to get refreshed pricing, but my understanding from what he said, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but is that you are currently not under contract with Dynegy.
Yeah, I
I
just
will
know
find
that
out.
the agreement
I can
with.
get back to you if you want.
Yeah, I mean, if you want some low hanging
Gentlemen.
fruit to grab some money, that's how you do it, is you contract your electricity.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's always been under contract for years and years, right? I
Well,
mean,
no, that's what I'm saying. For an entire year, you were not under contract. So this period of time we're seeing in this spec spreadsheet that was from
This
July.
building or just?
Right, correct. The
That's
1 year
where
you were
you're-
not under
yeah.
contract. So you
Okay.
were paying at times maybe 2 to 3 times more for electricity than you would have if you were competitively priced. And I mean, you saw it's almost $250,000 a year you were
Yeah.
spending, so that's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, that jumped off the page at me.
I'll
All right.
look into that.
Yeah,
See
for
if I can
sure.
get some good answers on that.
Okay.
And particularly the timing and
Yeah,
where we are
cost-
with CCAO
Cost
on
per
that.
kilowatt.
I didn't realize that this building was not part of our contract, so,
Right.
okay. So a sense from you about how you would like to proceed. Do you guys like Commissioner Dvorak's thoughts about a 5-year contract with escalating amounts? Or do you want to just do something flat?
And then they would take it to the board and see
Yeah,
if they would
I
accept
mean,
it.
my feeling is whatever the number is, hash it out. But whatever's fair is fair, and, you know, it doesn't need to be more or less, you know. So I don't know what that number is, but, you know, if we can research whatever that comes out to be, just to cover your day-to-day existence here, I guess that's it.
It's about $3,
$3, okay?
based on
Yeah.
these electric prices.
Yeah.
And
Well, then-
I can't know what they'll be in the future. My understanding is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that electric prices are going up.
Well, so my understanding is that you contract for a fixed price, so you will know what your electric costs are going to be.
Yeah,
If you do an index price, or some kind of block and index, which is usually how I recommend people contract, then you float with the wholesale market more. But with that, you don't have as much budget certainty. So it just kind of depends where you want to go as far as locking in a price versus having more exposure to the wholesale market.
Understood. Well, we will do whatever CCAO does because we're a part of that consortium. It's just, we need to find out where they are on that.
Yeah.
Would you like a motion of some kind? Then you can present to,
I do.
Their
I
board.
need a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about for the health department?
yeah.
Yes.
I don't think we need a motion
because
yet.
We don't know what it's going to be
Yeah.
yet. The sense I get
But
from
I
you,
would just say, Jim, if you want to go negotiate and come up with a number for that, that'd be great. Yeah.
You good with that, Ralph?
Okay.
when is your next meeting, Adam?
It will be, it's the fourth Wednesday of this month, which is 24th, yes, that's pretty sure.
Is it okay if we are on the agenda
Yeah.
to discuss with the board?
Yep.
Okay. 5 o'clock downstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. Is it 10 o'clock?
Yes.
It is.
Yay, we used up
And
our
that's
time.
great. Yes, I do need that motion to waive the reading of the legal notice.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Laura?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the session today to hear about the 2025 tax budget. I ran through this yesterday and that monitor worked the entire time and it's kind of been a little flaky so far this morning, so I don't know if it's gonna continue or not, but I want to thank, first of all the elected officials, department heads, and department fiscal people for all their help and input into this tax budget. It was a collaborative effort, and just want to start out by expressing that appreciation. Also for the commissioners as well for their input, for Debbie Ashburn's help, Jerry Morgan as well, county administrator. So I will go ahead and get into this. So and I have some prepared comments here that I'll read, and at the end there'll be an opportunity to ask questions if anyone needs clarification on anything. The total 2025 tax budget for next year is $175 million. This is approximately $38 million or 27% more than the 2024 adopted budget, due in large part to the McFarland Wastewater Treatment Plant Upgrades Project Fund, setting aside money for the renovation and expansion of that plant. This accounts for $31 million of the increase. And without this project, we would only be seeing about a 5% increase. We have an $800,000 increase in the Building Improvements Fund for various projects being planned for the Hill, in Chardon, and in the county's 24-hour areas. $4 million is from Metzenbaum, which has increased their transfers out account to cover its Medicaid waiver match obligations and an increase to their contract services account in the Residential Services Fund, and an additional $1.2 million in their operating fund. $1.1 million is from the engineers, which is due mostly to an increase in expected Ohio Public Works projects for next year. And out of the remaining $5 million increase, just about $3.5 million is in the general fund, and the other $1.5 million worth of increases are scattered across various funds in smaller amounts. Revenue throughout the county has increased to cover most of the rise in expenses, but not entirely, as some of the expenses in Metzenbaum and the Building Improvements Fund could be considered surplus spending. The general fund's portion is $47.1 million. The general fund increased by about $3.5 million in the tax budget for next year versus what was adopted as the permanent appropriations for 2024 back in December. $1.1 million of the increase is due to payroll and fuel account increases in the sheriff's office, as well as common police court, which has a $331,000 increase, mostly due to payroll accounts. The prosecutor's office has a $430,000 increase due to taking on municipal prosecutions. A $400,000 increase in ADP was due mostly to increases from the acquisitions of the Archives Department. There was an $870,000 increase in maintenance due mostly to payroll, as well as increases in ground and building maintenance costs, software and electric services. $351,000 came from increases to the Commissioner's miscellaneous accounts, mostly due to increased requests for capital transfers, 800 megahertz communications fund and 911 funding. There was also a $50,000 increase for postage expenses, and we'll break down those general fund expenses a little further into the presentation. Operational transfers cover items like emergency transfers, 911 funding, 800 megahertz radios, court technology, capital projects, debt service, grant matches, public assistance, family first, community development, and reimbursements. The $2 million of requests that have yet to be funded are as follows. And the commissioners took steps to obviously balance the general fund expenses with the calendar year revenue for next year without depending on the cash carryover, which is pretty volatile. It does fluctuate a bit, particularly going into these next few years potentially. So we wanted to be able to pay for what we had planned with calendar year revenue without depending on cash carryover. So there were some reductions. 914,000 were equipment requests. 537,000 of that 914 was from the sheriff's office. This included 423,000 for 6 replacement patrol vehicles and 114,000 of their equipment request for replacement servers, computers, monitors, and cameras. 180,000 from maintenance for a skid steer and vehicles. 89,000 from elections for a new ballot, transport vehicle, and high-speed letter opener. 26,000 from the auditor for replacement computers, monitors, printers, and copiers, and 80,000 from ADP for furniture and a vehicle, and 2,000 from planning for a new cabinet work area. 535,000 was removed from detention home expense line item, as we will no longer be utilizing the Joint Juvenile Detention Center. And we left 50,000 on that line to pay for the services of the other facilities that we will be using on a per night basis. 450,000 is associated with personnel related expenses, which were requested by the auditor for a maintenance position, as well as ADP had a maintenance position as well. Additional ADP payroll was reduced by 235,000 for amounts over the 3%, not including the archives transfers, and also the maintenance department, which had a $200,000 reduction for some of their vacant positions. 119,000 of the unfunded requests right now were associated with contract services requests by the auditor's office for renovation work that is being undertaken by the maintenance department, and 75,000 was removed from utility electric service contracts for maintenance. There was also about 641,000 requests from outside the general fund that are awaiting funding. This includes about 416,000 for ADP and the Computer Equipment Improvements Fund for various equipment, including items described as 29 mini Dell PCs and user technology stock items, printers and hardware, cabling and network upgrades, monitors, docks, and miscellaneous user hardware, ADP tech life cycle replacements, and office building audio-visual integration. 31,000 was from the sheriff and the 800 communications fund for lighting systems and communication trucks upgrades. About 100,000 from the auditor and their refund for a maintenance worker and the office renovation contract services funding. 44,000 in 911 for computers, monitors, and a recorder, and 51,000 from court technology for computers, displays, and a kiosk. As this year progresses, as in previous years, we'll assess our ability to fund these later, either whole or in part, or make them a priority for the supplemental next year. So this is a look at the general fund revenue that we have budgeted for next year. The increase in property tax was recognized this year in an amended budget for the revenue. It, however, did not impact the adopted budget at the beginning of the year. So we did our budgeting for an increase from 2024 from the adopted budget of about $3.67 million. This is at an expected collection rate of 98% as determined by the Budget Commission, along with an increase in the state reimbursement. Prisoner housing is picking up again. Sales tax is showing some early signs of leveling off. We're still on track to meet our budgeted amount this year. We did cross, as of the end of June, the 50% to our budgeted amount for sales tax for the year. An increase is budgeted for next year, however, this time by a more modest $500,000 amount. The 21.5 amount is the same as what we made from the sales tax in 2023. The two largest decreases in revenue in the general fund were the transfer tax and recorder fees. So we'll break down those revenues here in this next slide, and we don't have that monitor anymore, unfortunately. I apologize for the small writing. I was thinking we would have this monitor over here to be able to see this, but I'll turn it over to Debbie now to review the revenue amounts.
Okay, before I get started, last year, Commissioner Dvorak, you asked for a joke, which Adrian did not follow through.
Right.
So, this is a groaner, but who led the accountants into battle? General Ledger. Told you.
You can see why I didn't lead with it.
But you have like 1,000.
Groaners?
Yes.
So this is the breakdown. This is the top 10 sources of income that's coming into the county, into the general fund this year. For next year, the sales tax continues to be number one, and I'll try and read some of those numbers to you there. Sales tax is looking at about a 45.5%, which is almost half of our income into the general fund, and that is about 21.5 million. Property tax is still running number two, 11.4 million, which is about 24%. Interest income, the revenue that's received on investments, is about 3 million, and that it makes up about 6.35%. Other things like rent, gas well revenue, reimbursements, miscellaneous grants, auction proceeds, they fall under the other at 5%, which is bringing in about 2.4 million. The last six make up about 19% of the revenue, totaling about 7.3 million, and those make up the property transfer tax, which dropped a little bit, as Adrian said, the department fees, prisoner housing, casino tax, cost allocations, and local government tax. So I want to look first, a little history on, you can change this slide, the little history on the sales tax is it was first established in 1934 because the state was in the middle of a severe budget crisis, so they brought in a 3% sales tax to kind of offset the deficit. It was supposed to be temporary, but it's still here. And in 1949, sales tax did become the principal, Dave, P-A-L, principal source of revenue for the state. And this chart indicates the breakdown by counties now. Everything in the light blue is still sitting at about a
7.25.
It's a 7.25, yes, and that's about 50 of the counties in the state at 7.25%. The highest is Cuyahoga at 8%. The greens and the yellows, that's about 27 counties, and they are riding between 6.75 and 7%. That's where Jaga is. And actually, Lake County just came down from 7.25 to 7, so they're now in that category. The purple, the three purple, they stand out. That is Montgomery, Franklin, and Mahoning, and those are at a 7.5%. And the dark blue ones, Lorraine, Wayne, Stark, and Butler, they're still riding at the lowest rate of a 6.5%. So Jaga is at a 6.75%, been here a long time, but it's good to know, you need to know that of that 6.75%, only 1% is collected by the county, 5.75% goes to the state. This chart here is, it shows the income through sales tax, the sales tax trends from 2019 through 2024, but I only have 3 months of 2024 available to see because sales tax is on a 3-month delay. So what was earned by the businesses in March, they don't have to pay that sales tax into the state until the end of April. And then the state processes it in May, and then it is distributed in June. So I can only give you up till March. And this receipt, March this year was a little under 1.7 million, which is slightly down from March of 2023 by about 32,000. And I'm anxious to see the next 3 months because the 3 months that we have for 24 isn't really going to give, it's not a good trend setter.
Well, we've had 2
But over
out of the last
last-
3 months where we've had a decrease.
We have.
So
as we sit in 24, we're at about 72,892 down from January, February, March of last year. Okay, in property tax, our number 2 source, this is a breakdown of $1 of property tax. So in the red pie center, the red pie is 16.1 cents, and that's the amount that comes to the county for funding programs.
and this is an average of all the different taxing areas in the county. So all the different townships and all their different taxes that they have. So this is the average over all those.
So what's left, so we get 16.1%, and what's left is an 83.9 cents. And though that breaks out to the local school districts, the joint vocational school district, townships, municipalities, the library, and the parks. And you can see that the school districts are taking 56.4% of that dollar. So I want to look at the dollar, or our 16 cents. How are we breaking out this 16 cents? So that's what is used, that's what the county is receiving in their county programs. The general fund of that 16%, the general fund is receiving 5 cents. The rest of the pie, all in green, are areas that are funded by levies. So those were voted on by the residents, and those are developmental disabilities, get 5.6%, children's services, 0.7%, mental health, 1.7%, cents, and then roads and the bridges, 1.4 cents, senior citizens, 1.4 cents, and the health district, 0.3 cents. And that's what we're splitting out of that dollar.
Okay,
So,
thank you,
take
Debbie.
it.
Yeah.
Take it away, Adrian.
Okay, so this is a breakdown of the different things that make up our revenue request for next year, as well as what we budgeted so far for this year, and then going back several years. So one thing that you won't see that I looked up, I looked up an old one of these charts, and I was surprised because for many, many years, I mean, you look at this and it's going up at a couple of pretty decent intervals. The big blue square at the top of 2020, that is COVID relief money right there. And then if you look at the large bright green section at near the top of 2023, and then the expanding purple section, you'll kind of see that that is interest rates as well as inflationary increases in the sales tax. So those are the two relatively year over year large bumps that happened throughout the last several years. And if you look back, and I didn't have room for it up here obviously, but if you look back from 2015, you'll see like probably the previous 7 or 8 years, the revenue spanned only between 25 and 30 million. It kind of bounced back and forth in there. So revenue was pretty stagnant up until we had COVID, and then we've had these inflationary increases. Those were two of the biggest bumps. So we do like to budget revenues conservatively. This helps to control expenses and protect the county from surprises. So we maintain this philosophy in driving the commissioners' decisions on the budgets. Overestimating revenues and possibly underproducing in that area would cause everybody fiscal harm, I'm sorry. not physical harm, fiscal harm. The largest increase, although, yeah, I mean, depending on how you look at it, there could be, yeah. The largest increases that you can see here are in the investment income in that bright green, and the sales tax in the purple, and also the real estate tax. So you can kind of see the bottom blue block there for the budgeted 2024, and then again in the estimated 2025. That is the